Hey everyone, welcome to Sunny Commutes, a podcast where I combine the worlds of web development and business and share my experiences. This is podcast episode 69, where I'll be sharing my most exciting product launches. Now, Elon Musk was supposed to join me on this episode, and he definitely had some really exciting launches, but he did have to cancel at the last minute. It's all good though. I'm going to share two of my most exciting products that I launched in the past. One of which I actually don't work on anymore. I actually had to close it down. But and there were obviously a lot of lessons that I want to share about that first project. And then the second one, I'm still continuing it. It's a recent launch, so I'm still kind of on that journey to continue working on it. Now, the main thing I want to mention, of course, is the amazing part about like building one of your own projects, just having or seeing something be an idea at first and then seeing it come to fruition as something that other people use, or just seeing like your website out there on the internet that anyone can access, that you can share, is really cool. So I think that any launch is exciting on its own, but these are like the most memorable launches, I guess I should say, and definitely my biggest projects as well. So the first one is CodeBee, and I launched it in the summer of 2015, so about 4 years ago. And it's supposed to be a social network for developers and designers. So the main premise around it was, first of all, there was another site that I really heavily based the site off of, and it was called Forest. It was like Forrst. And the main idea is just for a place where developers and designers could get together and socialize around, sharing code, sharing what their setups look like, finding help for their projects and things like that. And so with CodeBee, we focused on being able to ask a question similar to like Stack Overflow. You could write a tutorial to share something like if you want to write a tutorial about using framework, or if you want to make a Photoshop tutorial, just things like that. And then share your own projects, stuff that you're working on. So I really enjoyed building this, and it was something that, I felt like was missing. There weren't really any competitors at the time. And the other cool thing about CodeBee was that I live streamed the entire development during that summer. So I was in college and I held like a 40-hour week job. So this was definitely something that was like a side hustle. I would come home from work and I would work on CodeBee. And I also decided to live stream it. And this was like before live streaming programming was kind of cool. And I mean, definitely that's still on the rise today, but not on Twitch. It was on a different site. So it was definitely like super early on. And there was definitely a big community on that website. And so I live streamed. I had, recurring people that would come back to just watch me code. And that was actually their tagline, like watch people coding or something like that. And it was just really cool just seeing a community kind of, I would obviously go and watch other people's streams, and just seeing a community around, just people coding. It was really cool just to put it on as sometimes just background noise, but also debugging live with people, seeing like, as I'm coding, I would come across a problem and then seeing the chat help me out, and they would be like, oh yeah, it's a dumb mistake, like, look on line 50 or whatever. So that was really cool. Now this actually really helped out with launching CodeBee, because so this is actually how I ended up launching it. I worked until around 6 a.m. So I pretty much pulled an all-nighter to get this out. I was fixing bugs. I was trying to get it, I obviously had like a dev environment, but just getting everything working, fixing any bugs and stuff in production. But I set up the site, everything was good. Then I went to sleep, and I did post it on Product Hunt, and I probably like tweeted or scheduled some tweets and stuff to let everyone know that it was out and you can sign up for it. So I went to sleep, and then I woke up maybe 4 or 5 hours later. So it was like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. And, I checked up to see CodeBee, and lucky enough, there were people that signed up and actually posted on it. So that just, seeing something that you've been working on for a couple of months and then especially a social network, because it's like people have to sign up, they have to be interested enough to post on it. And there were, when I woke up, I was surprised. I saw, tutorials, I saw questions being asked, and these were people that used to watch me, or most of these people were those that would come and join me while I was streaming Codebee. So that definitely helped, just building up a community of developers and letting them know about it. They're like, hey, this is finally out, you can join. So something that I've been working on, and finally sharing that with that community. And I didn't really get much traction from like Product Hunt or Reddit or other places that I posted this on. So I would still say it was a successful launch, even despite not getting any traction on like these main platforms where you would, share your project and, tell people about it. So Codebee is not something that I work on anymore. I actually closed it down. And the reason is really dumb. Now that this is, kind of looking back on it, but the reason was that there were other sites that popped up that were like developer communities. And I saw those two sites. One was more of like a community blog, and then the other one was definitely more like a social network. And I just saw those sites and I'm like, okay, they're definitely doing it better than I am. And so why should I continue putting in my efforts towards this project, right? Looking back on it, it's really dumb because one of those sites I no longer visit or anything. It actually did not turn out to be the same thing that I wanted my site to be. And the second thing is, like, I really shouldn't have cared, because everyone always has a different take on something, and there's always room for, even if there's multiple competitors, multiple products in the same niche, there's always room for others, right? We all don't visit like the same restaurant. There's always room for more, for something that's a little different. Could be, the same type of food, but like you're still probably going to visit it for other reasons, customer satisfaction and whatnot, right? So, yeah, so looking back on it, I should not have cared about the competition whatsoever. I should have just continued on it, with my vision for what I thought this social network would be. And also looking back on it, I think it definitely could have been really successful, especially if it was something that, not just from a development standpoint, but if I just continued to market it really well and share it with a bunch of different developers and designers and tweet at them and try to get in touch and, get them to post on it and stuff like that. I think could have really been successful. But, lessons learned, I might bring it back one day, but for now, and let's see, I think I closed it down around 2016, so maybe almost a year later. But I think I stopped getting active on it a couple of months after I launched. So, that's that. That's a little unfortunate, but definitely a lot of lessons learned, and it was definitely an exciting launch. Now, the second project is something that I'm still continuing today, and it's called Iron Mike. So I launched it in 2018 in August, so this is last year, in the summer, and it's a website generator for podcasts. This essentially, what I wanted to do was scratch my own itch, because obviously I have my own podcast, and I wanted to build a website for it where people can go and subscribe in their podcast app, whatever they use. I just wanted to list all of them on the same page. And I also wanted to list all the episodes with the show notes. Now, I use a service called Anchor, and there are pages where, of course, I can share my Anchor page, but having my own website would definitely be much better, because it'd be under my own domain. It would be branded, with my own logo. It would be focused more about my podcast versus just having this page on some other service, right? So this was just to scratch my own itch. I wanted to make a website that I also didn't have to update either. So I wanted to automate that whole process. I started the podcast, in my car, and so not having to put in a lot of time and effort and kind of just record and publish, and that's it, was my primary motive with this. So now the big difference with Iron Mike and Codebee is that, with Codebee I streamed and I coded kind of collaboratively, whereas with Iron Mike I kind of worked in seldom. Now I have, two good friends that I work on this project with, but I didn't really share, besides with them, I didn't really share to the public, to the community about what I was working on or like updates and things like that. And I think for those reasons, I definitely burnt out after the launch. The launch for Iron Mike was primarily through indie hackers, Reddit, and Product Hunt, and we kind of spread this out over 2 days. So the first day we got some good traction, mainly from indie hackers and Reddit, and then the second day was primarily from Product Hunt. And the biggest difference with Iron Mike is that it's my first paid product, so actually people have to pay for it to use it. And that also means that, we got customers, so it's my first set of paid customers. And so not just only, having an idea in your head and then launching that idea to the public, but also having people pay for that is pretty insane to me. So, regardless of where this project is in the future, that on its own, just being my first like paid product with real customers, is pretty insane in my head. And yeah, so to me, the launch was like super successful, super exciting. And today I'm continuing that project, so I'm continuing to work on it. And the lesson that I learned from CodeBeat is that I don't care about the competition. No matter how many competitors enter the market, no matter how many similar products there are, I know that I have a vision that's different than everyone else, and I know if I can take the project to a certain level of success or not. So, there's no point in ending the project, especially since it's already useful, at least just to me. So, not only do I have customers, but at the very least, like, I'm my own customer. And so this is a project that is going to continue to be useful as long as I do this podcast. And there's also lessons that, of course, I learned from Iron Mike. So from that launch, because I worked in Seldom for like 3+ months, and I also put in a lot of effort with very few breaks, or at the very least for that last month, that forced me to burn out. I, kind of quit in terms of making updates. I would make some bug fixes, but for the most part, I didn't really, focus on like even content creation or any other smaller projects. I just kind of, quit cold turkey, continued to run it, but I didn't really push any updates or do a lot of like marketing stuff. So the big lesson with this project is that I should have done an initial launch that would be much closer to like a very core MVP product, and then make updates later on. So kind of just pace myself, but get something out the door first. But regardless, these were my two most exciting launches. So CodeBeat was a social network that I wish I continued. Maybe I'll bring it back, but with Iron Mike, it's still a project that I'm continuing today, but it's something that I'm learning lessons from, as well as taking the lessons from CodeBeat and kind of transferring to this in terms of the whole competition thing. All right, thanks for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed the episode. Especially if you learned a thing or two, let me know from my previous failures and successes in my previous project launches. Definitely reach out to me on Twitter, or just go to my website, sunnysync.io. You'll find multiple links on there. And I hope you get a chance to check out Iron Mike. That's ironmike.fm, especially if you're a podcaster, of course. And then all the links for this podcast, places to subscribe, the previous episodes that I posted up, especially the show notes for this episode. That's sunnycommutes.fm. Everything is on there, and it is powered by Iron Mike, of course. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.